my name is Shauna Bueller, and this is my video post for Chapter 7 and Chapter 8. I believe that tracking in schools can be beneficial for all students and for teachers. Tracking comes in many shapes and forms, though, so I think it confuses people, and it certainly fuels the debate on whether or not it's a good thing for students. However, I believe when used correctly, tracking enables teachers to cater the lessons to specific ability levels of the kids that they teach. I think it allows remedial and gifted students to move at a pace they're comfortable with and also that they can be successful with. And teachers can challenge all students according to their ability level. It's when we ignore these differences that we leave students behind. Education should focus more on celebrating differences in hopes of reaching students' individual needs before arguing that it promotes segregation in the classroom, which was also one of the myths in the video and at the forefront of most of the research I looked at. It's fair to say that we all have strengths in different areas, and furthermore, expecting to lump everyone together so that gifted kids can be role models to others or so those others don't stand out as needing extra help, it actually ignores the positive differences in kids. Yet we give awards for being different, like valedictorian, salutatorian, MVP, and in those cases, it's socially accepted. We're constantly preparing kids to be competitive and to stand out. Yet, when it comes to tracking, people against it argue that it's unfair separation of students. Or myth number 4 from the video, that parents want all kids labeled as gifted and it's not fair to label only some students that way. We cannot continue to embrace people for being different, but then complain when they're grouped by those differences to create a challenging learning environment for all. It's 2019. More than ever before, we're seeing people accepted for their differences. Mentally, physically. There's an issue in how we view tracking when in reality, we need to compare it to the fact that more and more people are embraced for being different and having strengths in different areas. We don't have to make that about segregation. Instead, we can embrace those differences. How we view and celebrate the differences in people is positively changing, but the negative viewpoints on tracking is actually outdated. I think it's a mindset shift. Tracking has been shown to raise test scores of high ability minority students, actually. The research I found shows a comprehensive tracking program that establishes a separate classroom in every school has the potential to significantly boost the performance of higher achieving minority students, even in the poorest neighborhoods of a large urban district. Given the high degree of economic and racial segregation in many urban districts, such tracking effectively serves large numbers of high achieving and minority students, and it could do so at little or no cost to other students or school district budgets. Parents will pay private tutors to get students caught up and have individualized attention when they fall behind. But when they're placed with classmates at the same level in hopes to just keep them caught up from the get-go, it's looked at as a negative for some reason. What's the difference? We are providing what they need to be challenged. Whether they're the lower level, they're being challenged at a level that they can keep up with and be successful with, which I think is empowering in its own right. When a student gets something and they feel great about it, that's a really positive thing for them versus being in a class they're constantly falling behind in, or gifted kids not being challenged enough. I don't understand why we don't embrace the positive in that, is giving them challenges that they can successfully complete, because it builds confidence in a different way. Another myth is that the social aspect can be really damaging to have gifted students in lower level classes as well. Or the myth is that it affects them socially if they're separated, because the lower level kids will be looked at as lower level and the higher ability kids are separated out, and that it only impacts socially those lower kids because they're looked at as not being smart enough. But actually, I have a student who is gifted in my beginning class, and every time he answers a question, the kids actually say, well, he doesn't count. He has the answer to everything. So a couple weeks later, he started failing the quizzes and not participating in the same way. And I had a conversation with him, and he was honest in saying, well, the kids make fun of me and knowing everything, so I stopped trying. He'll pretend not to know the answers and fail quizzes so he can fit in with the population he's around at the expense of limiting what his true abilities are. And that makes me sad for him, because he is bright and he is gifted and he deserves to be challenged. So actually, it's equally damaging to have gifted kids mixed in with lower level. It doesn't only socially impact those lower levels. And last, I think tracking is a positive. A lot of the myths, even in the video, seem irrational to me. Like the idea that parents want all kids labeled as gifted. In my opinion, that's the same as everyone receiving a participation ribbon, and I think it only adds to the problem we see in education today of kids feeling entitled to pass without actually earning it just because. Also, if we label every kid as gifted and ignore realities, we're further setting them up for failure in college and in the workforce. I've never had a professor label every kid in every class as gifted or a boss label every worker as highly effective. It seems by doing so, we only create unrealistic expectations further down the road, and we actually limit the growth of students who actually need extra help to move forward. So those were my thoughts. I went 30 seconds over time. Sorry about that. Thank you.